Tired today. It's my Monday. I don't know how you guys deal with your Mondays, but second live of the day. The first one was awesome. It was Monday morning live stream. I got to say thank you to everybody who was there. We covered all the bets that took place this weekend. I covered our hits, our misses. Now, we'll see how long I keep this one open. Usually I'll stay live for about an hour. I wanted to leave this second live as an opportunity for you guys who missed the first one. If you want to talk about anything, if you want to bring up anything specific. We have fights coming up though. We have the Contender Series in 2 days. We have the NFL, which I haven't had much time to do any work on. You know, this is a boxing channel, but in our Discord, we do have some NFL. We have an NFL channel, college football. And we got fights in Australia Thursday. So my Thursday night here in Australia, your Wednesday in America. I already have a parlay cooking, so I have to grab my laptop real quick. Okay, so as you guys are tapping in, let me know where you're coming from and just give me a thumbs up for me, just like this video. And if you're not in the Discord, guys, that link is in the comment section below. A couple bucks a month, you get to join our little awesome growing Discord. You get more access on the channel here, more accessibility to myself on social media, and that link's pinned. So there is a card in Australia. It's in Brisbane. It's one of these, once again, guys, I think there might be one upset. I think there might be one upset alert, and we'll cover that. I'll give you my 100% picks, my in-stone parlay. I'll give that to you tomorrow. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I don't expect this one to be too busy. Rocket, hey Johnny, told you Crawford will win. You did. Don't ever doubt a man's determination and will. I know, man. Crawford is that guy. He is from Miami. I'm from the 3D box. What's up, Rocket? No, you're right, brother. You're right, man. And Rocket, thanks for coming. And Gary's a beast. Gary from 3D, great community. Our communities are kind of like, you know, we're parallel. We're joined. And he has a great thing going on there. And I appreciate you coming over here. And I always tell people, if they're not following Gary at 3D, go follow him. He's a beast. He's a buddy of mine. I consider Gary a friend. I've never met him in real life, but, you know, this is the day and age we live in. You know, some of the best conversations I have at this current version of my life are with people I've never met in my life in person, which is kind of cool. Gary's one of them. So I went on a walk today with my girlfriend on lunch, and I brought up the fact that I think there's this phenomenon that occurs. And if you guys remember studying, for a test, or you know you're prepared for a test, and you're going through it, and you might have overstudied, and you're like second guessing knowledge that you already know. This is kind of what's happened to me a couple times in the last month or so. It happened to me, which I picked the winner, and then I sit and I watch so much tape, and then I flip flop. So maybe I'm just going to start doing a parlay called Johnny's Flip Flops. because I originally picked Seb Fundora and I flip flopped. Bud's my favorite fighter, flip flopped. So yeah. That one stings. But he proved me wrong, and mate, he fought well. He fought exceptional. I was just talking to a buddy of mine about Crawford's performance. And it's something that you boys hear all the time. Not all boxers are fighters. And what I mean by that, and you guys know that, like boxing, it's a very technical sport. And a lot of times you see technicians who are just technically amazing, and they're so dedicated to the craft, and they've been doing it for so long. And let's say they started boxing since they were 7, and by the time they're 10, 4% of their friends have quit. By the time they're 15, 20% of their friends have quit. By the time they're 20, 50% of their friends have quit, and they're still boxing. And so this is boxing, and these are students of the game. Every now and then you get boxers who are fighters. And Bud Crawford is a fighter. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that I overlooked. You know, I overlooked that. We knew he was a dog, and I didn't expect him to be able to frustrate Canelo either. That's probably my biggest take-home point. The frustration on Canelo's face, I think after the 7th, that's when I was like, shit. I was like, I messed up on this, guys. I didn't expect Bud to be able to... Basically, when you get frustrated in there, guys, your opponent has mentally broken you. Not physically. And I've never been a Canelo fan, and so we're talking about Bud. I have to talk about Canelo. I actually like Canelo more. I was never a fan. I don't know if I like Canelo more now, and even though I don't know if I like him now more because, you know, I got to see him versus Bud, but I don't know. I didn't know Canelo was that. Canelo's a dog, man. He kept coming forward, kept coming forward, kept coming forward. Bud was just better than him. Bud was better than him everywhere. Did you guys notice in the 4th round during a clinch? This is another thing that I didn't bring up to you guys, and I wasn't going to bring up, and this is the first time I'm going to bring it up now. I didn't talk about it in my breakdown video. It didn't occur to me until 2 nights before the fight. We saw this play out in the 4th round and then in the 8th round, and this is where I'm getting at. In the 4th round, it was their first clinch situation, and Canelo had Bud. Bud's back was against the ropes, but Bud wasn't square with him. He was moving his feet, so Bud's base wasn't solid. So Canelo kind of picked him up, and he put him down, and that was that. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then the 8th round, the same situation occurred, and Crawford moved him. Crawford moved Canelo, and he used his wrestling. And this was the point. I was like, fucking hell, dude. Bud Crawford, wrestled when he was younger. I'm pretty sure he made it to the States in Nebraska in high school as a wrestler. The reason why that's significant is because in the clinch, body positioning and knowing how to use somebody's energy against them in the clinch is important in terms of leverage. And, that bit did not occur to me that Bud's wrestling sort of pedigree would probably play a little bit into what was going to happen if they got into the clinch. And, it was occurring to me, and I didn't bring it up. And, afterwards, it's another thing I missed. It's another thing that's like, fucking hell. And then part of me also was like, a couple years ago being accused of being a Crawford fanboy. Part of going against him as well was also one of those things was like, I don't know if I was trying to prove something to somebody, you know what I mean? Or like that, you guys, 2 years ago, you guys made me feel guilty for, I was doing a lot of content on Crawford because, the dude's exceptional. Like and I hadn't yet started doing live streams either. And I was still trying to figure out what I was doing on YouTube. I was finishing my 2nd book, and I was like, I got to do a YouTube video today. What should I do a YouTube video on? And I would do a YouTube video on Crawford's last 10 knockouts or Crawford's knockout to win percentage. And then people were like, damn, dude, this is a Terence Crawford Glaze channel. And it was just kind of like, what are you talking about? Just because this dude is, so dominant, and I'm highlighting the fact that he's dominant. This was 2 years ago. And so I don't know how much of me picking Canelo played in on that too. But yeah, I just, how dare I bet against Crawford? All right, where are we at? Skeezy, what's up, boys? 6 hours into a 12-hour drive. 12 hours. Where you heading, Skeezy? You coming to Sydney, boy? Oh, no, Perth to Sydney would be like 50 hours. JP Farley, I find my initial instinct is usually more accurate. You know what, JP? That's what my girlfriend told me. She said the same thing. Yo, Johnny, is Crawford the GOAT? For what UMG, how old are you, UMG? Mike trades, credit to Bud, in my opinion. Canelo's not what he used to be, and he's been slowing down for years. I'm not even sure if Canelo beats him, Billy or Shiraz. According to reports, Canelo earned $150 million for his undisputed championship fight against Crawford. Meanwhile, the entire UFC roster combined is estimated to make one. Koki, UMG, although the judges did favor Canelo if he won the last 2. Yeah, it's pretty wild. How much bread did you lose? Just house guy. I put it this way. I almost had to start stripping again. Koki, Crawford was walking Canelo into a path. This was a directional angle path, and it neutralized Canelo's body shot and hooks because Canelo couldn't hit from his range. Crawford optimized. Dude, Bud was great everywhere. Rocket, who took off a year to get his body acclimated to the weight. His team had been studying Canelo for a while, right? No, 100%. Bud smiling and the crowd roaring throughout the fight after landing slick combos would have been absolutely demoralizing. 100% Skeezy. JP Farley, I noticed that, too, Bud bullied him in the clinch. Canelo looked like the one moving up in weight. You think Crawford can beat Mabili? Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I think that style... Look how good Crawford is still backing up, fighting off his back foot, timing, counters, his speed. Yeah, there's no way Mabili... That fight's not going to happen. I think if Crawford... Let's just stick to boxing, potential boxing matchups. How many 6th division world champions are there, guys? Let's do the math. Isn't Oscar... How many... Is Oscar a 6th division world champion? I think he's 6. 6, yeah. So Oscar De La Hoya is a 6th division world champion. There's not a lot of fighters above that, right? So Bud has won titles at 35, 40, 47, 54, and now 68. Why not go down to 60 and fight Lara and become a 6th division world champion? You don't really need to fight at 68 again. What's good, DJ? DJ Green, my guy. Ron, fuck them haters. You knew what Bud was to say, what you know, they're haters. Ron in the house. Rocket, you know what's crazy, Johnny? I'm glad you know Crawford is special. Muscles said it. Nah. Muscles, I think Muscles was trying to convince himself about his bet. No. Obviously, my reasoning was you know, and Rocket, I brought this up earlier in my first live stream, was the fact that as a young kid, you know, I'm 7 years old playing 4 sports, played football, baseball, basketball, and box as a 7-year-old, and played those sports up until, you know, college years, and then I played just one after that. But I was always a small guy. I didn't go through puberty till I was 16 or 17. So I was always an athlete who had to rely on speed, reflexes, and size was never an issue with me. I never made it a size thing. And so looking back once again, another huge error that I made was thinking that it was just going to be the size difference that Canelo was going to be able to get past Bud's speed and technique just with his size. But come on, guys. Did anyone expect Bud to look that good, though? Be honest. I need you boys to be honest with me. I got to keep reminding you, you didn't take Bud a plus. No, DJ. Do it, DJ Green. I need you to hold me accountable any opportunity you could get. One of the greatest signs of leadership is being able to be held accountable. And I used to work for a leadership company. We had a quote: the best leaders lead with their ears. So I'm not a barking sort of guy. I'm listening. Dude, it's horrible, right? Bud the best, 100. Bud putting 3, 4. I know, Bud's combinations were so slick, dude. Mike Trades, okay, what about Janibek Alam? I don't think, so Mike Trade says, all right, what about Alam Hanalei? Can he give Crawford a run for his money, or do you think no one can from 68 down? Mike, I mean, who is going to sit here and doubt Bud? Just based on, I don't think Crawford would even fight Janibek. I don't see value in that fight. At least if he fought Lara. I mean, we know Alam Hanalei. Alam Hanalei's a monster, dude. Young. I don't see, he's not a household name. At least Lara is a guy, I'm talking, like, if they want to frame it this way, Lara is a guy that some people said beat Canelo. So you could do like a Canelo revenge tour. They won't do it, but you could, Bud could, you can market it, going down and, fighting the guy that, and leaving in no doubt, taking Lara's belt at 60, becoming a 6th division champion, stopping a guy that most people said beat Canelo. So I not only beat Canelo, I also stopped a guy that you could do it if you wanted to. I think that would make more sense than fighting Janibek Hanalei. So that's just my opinion there. He stops Mabili late. Crawford loves fight. Yeah, dude. And Crawford's, the thing about Billy is everything is coming at one speed, you know? Bud will be like tap and wait. Tap, 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 wait. Tap, wait, boom, boom. Like, dude, Crawford, fuck, dude. He looked good. His combinations last night. And notice his level changes, you know, especially when he got comfortable, when he realized Canelo couldn't hurt him from like the 9th round onwards. Bud from the 9th round onwards, when he was fighting and not moving as much in the pocket, he would stay here and then he would drop. And he would stay there from that level and tap, 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 angle here. He was doing so much nice work right in front of Canelo. And Canelo couldn't touch. Mate, Jesus Christ, he looked good. He looked good, man. Hey, you got down on me. That Bo's going to be Gracie, man. I'm wrong, brother. Hey. Skeezy, Bud would easily snatch something at 60. Yeah, why not, Skeezy? Why not become a 6th division world champion? I'd love to see Bud versus Lara. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if fight fans, we want to see that. Bud should retire and run into the sunset. I think there's a few bags left, though, underground. I think there's a couple bags left for him, like big bags. He could probably get like something big, too, if he, like... Maybe, what aren't we thinking? Like... Because people are talking about that Ilia Topuria fight, and I'm not spreading rumors. One of our guys in the Discord, one of the boys who is a Johnny Says insider, he's in our Discord. He was at the fights last night. He's so connected with that camp. You know, he was with Bud's dad, right? He sent me a message that said Crawford was fighting Topuria next. So, I mean, I know Ilia was trying to manufacture shit talk online, and Ilia, a 45 champion, everyone says that Ilia has the best boxing in the UFC. He just vacated at 45, and he's going up to 55. So that's just what I heard. Would that be the biggest fight he could get at the moment? Could you imagine Bud versus Ilia at the White House? Having like, because so Dana's involved. Maybe you heard it here first, but so Dana's involved obviously with boxing now. Duh. I mean, we just saw what happened last night. Trump announces 3 months ago they're going to do Fight Week or July 4th at the White House, an event. Connor's putting his name in the hat to fight again. John Jones is putting his name in the hat. But people are thinking that it just has to be UFC MMA fights. Imagine a crossover fight on that card between Ilia and Bud at the White House. Let's go. You heard it here first. That's little sneaky, conspiratorial Johnny Says Boxing insider, little sneaky info. Where we at? David, respect your takes. When you said Crawford doesn't box and has never outboxed someone since Puzzle. I know, mate. David, I was trying to lie to myself. David, I was trying to lie to myself. And when I said outboxed, see, this is something I tried to clarify on my live stream with TJ from Chilltown, David. Was when I said outboxed, I meant having to, because you saying outboxed, we first have to identify and define what is boxing, right? It's such a broad term. So if you and I were sitting here together and I had said that, you would have called me on that. You'd be like, Johnny, what the fuck, man? What do you mean he hasn't outboxed? And then we would have been able to get down to the crux of what I meant, rather than it coming off as this ignorant, dumb, wrong statement on my end, which I'm admitting. It's what I meant to say was, and for the lack of better terms, in more recent memory, Postal, the fight at 140, Crawford had to rely on, neutralizing pressure, fighting off the back foot, using the entire ring, working his jab, and not so much a front-forward, bullyish sort of aggression, stopping an opponent sort of thing. Just straight up bullying somebody. I wasn't saying it to diminish his ability of the sweet science. That's not what I meant. If Crawford is supposedly the best at 68, he should fight Benavidez. No. Dude, Asium 102. David Benavidez is like 6'3". He walks around like 200 pounds. Although, there's a storyline. You know what? I don't want to see Bud fight Benavidez at all. But there is a storyline. You know, Bud stopped his brother. Can update that to Canelo now. Skeezy, I much preferred Lester's style over Billy, especially during the mid-range exchanges. He picks his punches. Skeezy, I've talked about that on my first live stream, is that when Lester looks back at the tape, he's going to be like, oh, shit, I figured out Billy. It just took him a little while to figure him out. If they were to fight again, he fights him at range. He was picking, you're right, he was picking him apart. He was landing. Lester was doing his best work on, you know, obviously on the end of his punches. And it's almost, and all I'm going to say about Lester was bigger and more durable and more crafty than I thought he would be. Lester Martinez was crafty. Do they still use that word in boxing? My dad, it's an old-timer word from, like, you know, the 80s, probably older than that, but people used to say that's a crafty fighter, and that would be a compliment. Lester Martinez, I didn't know he was like, I've watched his tape. I did his breakdown tape. The only reason I gave you guys two huge upsets last night, though, so you better give me my flowers. I don't need praise. But the reason why I thought Raiko Santana was going to beat Steven Nelson was because I thought Raiko Santana beat Lester. But the version of Lester last night was the best version I've ever seen. I didn't think he was way better than I thought he would be. Rocket, Hamza Shiraz's team needs to calm down. Yeah, Hamza. I'd rather see Alam Hanalei go up to 68 to fight Shiraz. But you know what, Rocket? Shiraz is probably going to fight Canelo. Shiraz is probably going to... That's what Turki Al-Sheikh wants. Why not cash Canelo out to build your other star? You know, but this is probably why... You know what? When you think about the business side with Turki Al-Sheikh, he probably wasn't that excited about Canelo Crawford because of this. Because in his head, Crawford's already a star. Al-Sheikh's whole interest is to build Hamza into a household name for years to come as his cash cow. And he could still do that. But in boxing, it's always a turning of the tide. You have an older guy, and then you take your younger guy to fight the older guy, and you take all of that mystique as the older guy is walking into the sunset. And they're still going to do that. Shiraz is going to fight Canelo, but I bet you, and it'll still be a draw, like a big fight, but watching how Bud did that to Canelo now, or maybe Canelo fights Jake Paul. You know, if I'm Canelo now, Canelo just got proved. Bud just basically, I bet you, you know, and this is not shocking, Bud and Canelo are going to be friends for life. You know, boxing, it usually connects people forever, especially when these two guys are living legends. So what Crawford probably taught Canelo last night was like, look, like your skill, neither guy is in their prime, but it's probably like fighting at the highest level. Those days are gone. Why not just go fight Jake Paul now? Why not just go? That's probably the move. What car was that you said all the favors was going to win? That's Australia, PJ. But JSY, that's how Mabili fights, though, bro. Mike trades Bud, great, but he better not go messing with Benavidez or Bivol. No, he won't. No. He's not going to fight at light heavyweight, guys. Better Bivol, Benavidez. These are light heavyweights, guys. If anything, if Crawford stays in the squared circle, he probably should go to 60. DJ Green, I always had Lester. Lester was going punch for punch, but Mabili wasn't bad at the draw. Yeah, I'm not mad at the draw either, boys. Shout out to Breaking Bad Boxing, my boy Nick. Breaking Bad Boxing, if you don't follow Nick from Breaking Bad, go follow him on YouTube. He does great breakdowns and predictions. He's a Johnny Says Insider. He's in our Discord. He not only picked the draw. This fool did a great breakdown, and he sold me on the draw, and the draw came through. Hats off to Nick. Breaking Bad. Yeah, my boy going with the rematch, but I gave it to Mabili by an inch. Me too. I had Christian by an inch too, Ron. One last thing I wanted to say about Mabili and Lester is they fought so honorable. I said this earlier in my live stream, and it's the most appropriate adjective that I could find. Not you very rarely see two guys who make a decision of just the lack of self-preservation, and just every time and Billy would throw something that looked like it would hurt Lester, Lester would return and give it back just as good as he got it, and they did it for 10 freaking rounds. The fact that that fight was on the prelims, this is a big FU to Turkey and Dana. The fact that you had Callum Walsh and Fernando Vargas Jr. as the co-main, and you had Billy and Lester on the prelims, and you had Boachuk and Adams on the prelims, but you put Walsh and Vargas Jr. in the co-main? Come on, man. Chaz V, do I think Shiraz beats Canelo? That's what they want, Chaz. That's the plan. That's the plan that's in place, that Shiraz beats Canelo. David, I think Crawford can beat Hamza, Bivol, and you think? Hold on, dude. Come on. All right, this is. I have to put a stop. Guys, Crawford is not fighting a light heavyweight. Crawford's not going to fight Better Beav or Bivol. Andrew Charles, if there was any national pride amongst the American fan base, Crawford. Yeah, I brought this up. Andrew Charles brings up a valid point, man. I brought this up. I bring this up all the time. I think Hamza can beat Canelo. I mean, maybe. You know, I want to see Hamza fight Janibek Alimhanaleh. I want to see Alimhanaleh go to 68 and fight Hamza. That we probably won't see that though. But Billy was ready to go. What day is the Australian card? Yeah, PJ. Thursday night in Sydney, Australia is the Australian card. Up in Brisbane, Liam Perro's fighting. Liam Wilson's fighting. Brock Jarvis is fighting. But there is a young kid out of Western Sydney named Darren Gara-Trahella. Every time he's young. I told you about him earlier in the live stream. I met Darren Gara-Trahella when he was, I think, 16 at Bondi Boxing Club, when his mom would have to bring him to the sessions with Tony Del Vecchio. And Tony was like, look at this kid. This dude's going to be something. And he's fighting, it's a step up against Lachlan O'Shea. So that's going to be Wednesday. John, who do you favor between Canelo and Shiraz? I mean, right now, I don't know. I don't know what you want to make of. I want to see more of Shiraz. We're probably going to see that fight, though, Mike. And I don't like throwing guys away. I don't know if Shiraz is the dude that everybody thinks he is, that the Turkey thinks he is, he's going to beat Canelo. But maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic, and I don't like throwing guys away. I don't think Canelo fought bad, dude. I thought that version of Canelo obviously wasn't the best we've ever seen him, but it wasn't the worst. That was an aggressive-ass Canelo. He came in prepared. I just think that he was kind of shocked about Bud's durability and Bud's savviness. Bud's game plan was beautiful. Perfect game plan. You know, fight him on the outside early, use your jab early, make him come to you, make him chase early. Every now and then, maybe once around from the 4th and 5th, come in the middle, feel his power, clinch a little bit, exit, get back, use the ring. 6th, 7th round, sit on your jab a bit more, throw the backhand. Sit on your jab a back more, throw the backhand, exit. Make him come to you, come back in, jab, counter. 7th, 8th round, move a little bit less, feel his power, go to the body, backhand, exit. Like, the game plan was absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, watching Bud's precision from the 7th, more from like the 9th onwards in the pocket, playing Canelo's game and beating him at his own game. Jesus Christ, man, it was mastery. Even I put in our Discord the first 4 rounds, though, between both men. Dude, rounds 1 through 4 for Canelo and Crawford, we were watching 2 masters. Dude, Canelo's still fucking so good, guys. It's just Bud. Bud's just that dude, man. Bud is just, sometimes you just aren't as good as your opponent. No matter. Sometimes you're just not as good as your opponent, and sometimes you just might be going against one of the best of all time. I'm actually thankful for the co-mains. Gave me time to take a nap. Holla, Jay. Don't forget the lackluster Saudi kid on the main card. That was not world level boxing. Yeah, Muhammad Sakil, I think. Muhammad Akalay. Not in the main card fight. I get you. No, Jay, you're right. Better beef would hurt Bud. Yeah, I don't want to even, guys, I don't want to even entertain. That's almost disrespectful to Bud to say that he would beat Better Beef or Bivol. Like, let's not, this isn't, I don't want to entertain that. I do think Bud beats Ron thinks Bud beats Bivol, but he said he's not going to. Guys, that's light heavyweight, guys. Bivol's big. Guys, think about what Bud looked like against Madrimov at 154. Because Bud struggled with Madrimov in ways that he didn't struggle against Canelo because of that style. Bivol is Madrimov 2.0 with an extra 21 pounds on him. Yeah, come on, guys. Bud does not beat Bivol, dude. Holy shit. What are we doing? What are we doing? I like Parlo knockout on that card. Yeah, Liam, their feet, guys, JP, and Ron, Ron's an Aussie. Ron's been in the boxing game just as long as I have been. Australian boxing, when they do these cards, they're currently feeding Parlo. They're feeding Liam Wilson. They're feeding Brock Jarvis. Brock actually is going to have a tougher fight than people think, believe it or not. Jacob Ng. Google the Flamingo. There's a nice little boxer, Jacob Ng. Tall, skinny white boy. I think he's white. He might not be white. I'm serious. In Australia, I've actually been wrong on this before because it's easier to tell who's white and who's not. In America, where I come from, it's not that easy actually here in Australia. But Jacob Ng, he goes by the name of the Flamingo. He fought Billy Dibb. It was the fight in which he picked Billy up and Billy fell, and then Billy hurt his back. The fight got called off. I don't think Jacob's fought since then. I think it was during the pandemic. He's kind of a fan favorite, real tall, lanky for the division, nicknamed the Flamingo. But Paulo Acuso's on the card, dude. We got to see Justice Hooney against Fabio Wardley. Justice was putting belt to ass the entire fight until he wasn't, right? Even after that knockout loss, Justice Hooney, in my opinion, is still a top 10 heavyweight. Watching Justice operate, people don't appreciate how big he is with how much he's doing as a heavyweight, okay? Paulo Acuso's from that sort of same cloth. You know, these bigger Aussie boxers who have a really athletic game to them, who have a really well-rounded skill set, who can move, who could crack, who, does... Paulo Acuso is one of those names. I mean, right now, the world knows about Justice, and they know about Apataya, but I think Paulo Acuso is a couple big wins, or maybe a couple years away from putting himself in a position to let people know who he is as well. I've seen him fight a couple times. I like what I see with Paulo Acuso. So anyway, Parlo should win by knockout. Wilson should win by knockout. Brock Jarvis, I think he's fighting a guy named Ken Aiken. I think that's going to be a tougher fight than people think. I'm not going to give you my prediction on that yet. Acuso versus Dixon, I'm going to tape it. I'm going to tape all these fights. Ricky Nato is Jacob Ng's opponent. I think Jacob might be on upset alert. I got to tape it. And then it's a decent little card, boy. It's a nice little domestic card. I like Darren Garo Trahala, man. He's fighting a guy named Lachlan O'Shea. Those fights happen Thursday night. Oh, yeah. It's all good, Mike. You and Ron are all gravy. Where does 36-year-old Brandon Adams go? Madrimov Ramos. Give Brandon a big fight. Maybe Brandon gets the winner of Virgil versus Lubin. Skeezy dude blast Balboa. Yeah, we called that. Bivol is the third best fighter in the world right now. David, Bud hurt Canelo more than Bivol did. He can beat Bivol. Fucking hell. No comment. Vargas and that Irish guy could have been a draw. Callum Walsh, mate. That Irish guy. Yeah, it wasn't the best fight. Vargas fought better than I thought he would. Yeah, Callum Walsh fought so uninspired. Callum Walsh's performance was frustrating. I thought Callum Walsh's performance was disrespectful for just his handlers. He just was fighting uninspired. What was his game plan? I was talking about that in the Discord. Watching Callum, at least with Fernando Vargas, you know what you were getting. Fernando actually fought better than I thought he would fight. You know, his athleticism was what was getting him, you know, got him to the finish line. You know, he only picked up boxing in his late teens, you know, comes from boxing royalty. It's Callum Walsh who had all the hype, people talking about, and we should have saw it when if you guys watched the Villarreal fight, it's why I told you not to bet on that fight. It's because Villarreal fought Callum Walsh, and the internet tried to scrub it from reality, but Villarreal dropped Callum Walsh, I think, 3 times, and it's not on BoxRec. But he got dropped 3 times, and I was like, dude, Callum Walsh isn't the guy. They're trying to manufacture another Irish combat sports legend like Dana did with Conor, but Callum's not that guy. I feel like Akuso needs to be more challenged. I agree. Aussie boxers getting there. Well, JSI, this is what they do, though. Because you got to create buzz somehow before you take them on the world stage. Australia, what do we got here in Australia? 22 million people? You know what I'm saying? I think, when I lived in LA, I lived there in 2004 to 2009, I think in LA alone, there was 12 million people just in one city. Something like that. My numbers are probably, fact check me. My point is, you guys know, the pool in Australia there's not a lot to, so what you want to do is you build a record, you pad the record, you do what you can. This is boxing 101. And then you slowly, you domesticate them, and then you slowly start having them step up with, better competition, whether, you put them against veterans, and then you just see where they are. Yeah, he had no game plan. Did you see a game plan with Callum Walsh? What was his game plan? I couldn't see what he would. It looked like a half-ass sparring session with your mate. You guys were on the piss, and you train. Your boy doesn't train, but he's kind of tough. And every time you guys go out, he gets into fights, and he acts like he's the same as you. But you train. You have a coach. You've taken fights before, and then he's been talking shit to you for like 2 years when you guys are on the bags and smoking cigarettes, talking about like, I could fight you, I bet you I could spar with you. And then he finally shows up, after all that shit talk, and you're just like disinterested, and he's coming at you, and that's what it reminded me of. The Callum Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. reminded me of, like, in my messed up head, that's what I saw. No game plan, no urgency to score, no urgency to set anything up. They weren't finishing rounds on top. Both were boxing negatively, at any given time. It was a weird one. Parl's opponent is a mover. To be fair, we do have good names in recent times. Yeah, I love Australian boxing. I mean, you'll never hear, every time we get fights in Sydney, I go to all the fights. Ron, who's on this chat, I met Ron at an Aussie, at the Sam Goodman versus, I think it was Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca, or it might have been Paul Gallen versus Sonny. But yeah, I love Aussie boxing. Might be right with the Jacob upset alert. He hasn't fought. Yeah, hasn't fought since then. They scrubbed. Yeah, they check out if is Callum Walsh versus Villarreal on BoxRec, and if it is, look at the scorecards and does it say Callum Walsh got dropped at all? Because he got dropped 3 times against Villarreal. One of my TJ was at that fight. So if you guys know Chilltown, talk to Chilltown about it. He was at that fight. Perfect scenario. If Vargas would have stuck behind that jab all night, you know what it was, David? Oh, wrong Ron. Okay, my bad. I thought this was a different Ron. See, I got no pictures for you boys. This isn't Ron from Sydney? Good. I could be a little bit crazier then, because Ron from Sydney, he's kind of like an old head. Are you sure? If Vargas would have stuck behind that jab all night, you know what I think, David? I don't think Vargas started believing in himself until it was too late. it kind of looked like to me that Vargas didn't feel comfortable like he belonged until a little bit later. Posture was good, but I mean in terms of like the risks he was taking. Did you watch the MJ Inoue fight? Exactly what MJ didn't do. MJ made a decision to himself, I think, after the third round to not get knocked out. David, Aussie card, I'm just betting. All right, let's go. Ben versus Eubank is Saturday? No. What? Dude, maybe I got CTE. Because I did get touched up in sparring. That's from sparring this weekend. That is, and that is. Yeah. Maybe, is Eubank and Ben fighting? No, I don't see that on my books. UMG, let's get to it. Guys, I apologize for the Dana White last week. I had so much film to do. My picks sucked. I didn't get to... Yeah. Damn, Johnny, that came from a real-life experience. What? I box. I don't know what we're talking about now. But I didn't get to do much tape last week on the Dana White fights because I had so much study to do for all the fights this weekend. So my picks sucked. But I'm going to get back on track. Let's go over them real quick. Dana White Contender Series. Okay. Cody Chobnak, Rafael. Dude, I know about Uchegbu, Patty McCory, Livingston could get that upset, Baranowski, and Sosa. Guys, these goddamn Dana White prospect fights are so hard to predict. I'll give you my picks. I'll give you my picks in a day or so. Guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm exhausted. It's 1:15 Monday afternoon. I thank everybody who's here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe. Get in the Discord. It's a couple bucks a month. Join our community. I do 2 live streams every day. I'm going to give you my video tomorrow on Paro versus... He's fighting Paro, isn't he? Liam Paro is fighting... how do you pronounce his last? I don't want to butcher it. He's fighting a mover, you boys are telling me. So this week, I'm going to be doing Stats Don't Lie videos for Liam Paro versus Papet, Wilson versus Montilla. I'm going to give Akuso some love. I'm going to do a breakdown on Paulo Akuso, and then probably Darren Gara Trahala. Stay tuned, boys.